Today is the day many have been waiting for. It is the first official day of the Alex-Murdaugh trial. The former high-powered attorney has been accused of killing his wife and his youngest son. Today, jury selection has already began. A lot of questions to weed out this jury. Our News 19's Rachel Ripp has been there listening to a live stream and in the courtroom. Rachel, what has been happening? What is the latest you can tell us from Walterboro?
Andrea, I have to say this presence, this town, it is something like I have never seen before. The media presence here, we have local news outlets from Savannah, from other parts of Columbia, from Charleston. And not only that, we have national news outlets here. We also have reporters from the Associated Press. This coverage is wall to wall. And also just locals have been out and about. They've been searching around the courthouse, just looking to see what's been going on and just very curious about this case. Now, one of those locals I spoke with, he's just curious to see how this all plays out in the coming weeks. Now, right now at about 8:30 this morning, just 30 minutes after we arrived, Walterboro's tourism director informed me that per Judge Newman, there'd be no video live stream today of jury selection, but that an audio stream might become available to members of the media later today. Now, that is something that we actually just got access to about an hour ago. Now, according to the Colleton County Clerk of Court, about 900 summons were mailed to potential jurors, and jurors were given a second questionnaire to fill out. According to criminal lawyers from Columbia who are not associated with the case, it's going to be a difficult process to narrow this jury pool, and it could take a few days.
The smaller the town, the more high profile the case, the more intensive and inclusive jury selection process has to be. Sometimes a motion might be made by the lawyers to try to move the case to a different venue, a different part of the state. But if you're speaking about the Murdaugh case, you know, it's so publicized that it may not really matter where you move it. So the judge and the lawyers all have to do a really good job to make sure that people, it's going to be hard to find someone that hasn't heard about it unless you're under a rock somewhere. But if you have, that you can be fair and impartial and unbiased.
Now, judge-led voir dire process is something unique to South Carolina. That's where both the prosecution and defense attorneys submit questions to the judge, and the judge decides whether or not to ask those questions to the jurors. In other states, this process is attorney-led, not judge-led. Now, something that we've been seeing in the audio coverage so far, Judge Newman has been asking jurors about their coverage of this case, their access to coverage of this case. If they've seen TV news reports, if they've seen articles, if they've seen stuff on social media about this Murdaugh murder trial, he asked them to stand up. And there were over 25 people who voiced 25 jurors who voiced that they have in fact heard about this case. Now, Judge Newman also asked about where they heard about it. So if it was local news coverage, if it was through word of mouth, and there were various answers through Facebook, through coworkers, through social media, through TV outlets. And then lastly, he asked about relationships to the defense and prosecution attorneys. You know, if there were any jurors who had previously been represented by these attorneys, or if they had any sort of relationship with them socially or relationally, familially. So that is where we were at last check. Obviously, jury selection is still underway, and we will be sure to bring you the very latest right here on WLTX. Reporting live in Walterboro, Rachel Ripp, News 19, WLTX.
All right. Thank you so much, Rachel. Yeah, no doubt many jurors will be dismissed today. But let's take a closer look at the faces and names you will see during this case. Of course, we're starting with Maggie and Paul Murdaugh, the murder victims, the wife of Alex Murdaugh and his youngest son. Now, Creighton Walters is a name that you will hear often in the case. He is the chief attorney, the chief prosecutor, and he is the chief attorney for the state grand jury as well. Now let's move over to the other bench. Let's talk about the defense side. Here are the two attorneys you will be hearing from defending Alex Murdaugh. The two lead attorneys are Dick Harpootlian right here and Jim Griffin. Now Harpootlian, you are probably familiar with his name. He served as deputy solicitor for the Fifth Circuit for many years. He now works, though, as a defense attorney, and he's also in our state. He's a legislator. He is the Democratic state senator here in Richland County. Now let's look at Jim Griffin one more time. Jim Griffin, he is a defense attorney, he is a trial attorney. He also worked as an assistant United States attorney for our state for 2 years. Another name that you will hear often, Judge Clifton Newman. This is the one asking the jurors questions today. He's going to be overseeing this trial. Newman is an at-large judge for the South Carolina Circuit Court. He was elected by the State General Assembly back in 2000. Lots of experience. Now make sure you keep it here to WLTX. We are going to have live coverage every day. We have many reporters right now stationed in Colleton County. We will bring you the very latest from the courthouse. You can also find the latest on our News 19 app.